The Discovery Captain Marcus Chon floated in the zero gravity of his salvage ship's cargo bay, watching his crew work on the massive hull fragment they had recovered from the asteroid field. The piece of metal was easily the size of a small building, covered in strange markings that suggested it came from a ship built by the long-extinct Primer civilization. Finding intact Primer technology was like discovering buried treasure, and this salvage operation could set them up for life. "Marcus, these energy readings are off the charts," called Elena Rodriguez from her position near the fragment's power core. She had been his chief engineer for 8 years, and her expertise with alien technology was unmatched. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her coveralls were stained with the various fluids that seemed to leak from every piece of alien tech they encountered. "How off the charts?" Marcus asked, pushing himself toward her using handholds. Mounted on the cargo bay walls, his magnetic boots clinked against the metal flooring as he landed beside her. "This thing is still generating power after 10,000 years, Elena replied, her scanner beeping rapidly. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. If we can figure out how this works, we could revolutionize human technology." David Kim, their communications officer and the youngest member of their 3-person crew, drifted over to join them. His Asian features were animated with excitement as he studied the readings on Elena's scanner. "The mineral composition is incredible, too. There are elements here that shouldn't exist according to our periodic table." Marcus nodded, feeling the familiar thrill of discovery. They operated the salvage ship Meridian out of Zephyr Station, one of the smaller trading posts on the edge of human space. Most of their work involved collecting scrap metal and abandoned cargo, but occasionally they found something that made the dangerous work worthwhile. Zephyr Station was a modest facility compared to the massive trade hubs in the core systems, but it served its purpose as a meeting point between human and alien territories. The station was built into a large asteroid, with docking bays carved directly into the rock. It housed about 5,000 beings from dozens of different species, all engaged in the complex business of interstellar commerce. "Captain Shun, this is Station Control," came a voice over the ship's communication system. "You're cleared for Docking Bay 7. Welcome back to Zephyr Station." "Acknowledged, Station Control," Marcus replied, taking his position at the pilot's controls. "Meridian, heading to Bay 7. As they approached the station, Marcus could see the familiar sight of ships from across the galaxy. There were the sleek vessels of the Althari, a species of tall, blue-skinned humanoids known for their artistic achievements. Near them, the bulky cargo haulers of the Gorvani, a race of bear-like creatures who controlled much of the galaxy's shipping industry. And scattered throughout the docking area were ships from dozens of other species, each with their own unique design and purpose. The docking procedure was routine, and within an hour they had the Meridian secured in Bay 7. Marcus was looking forward to a hot meal and a good night's sleep in his quarters on the station. Tomorrow, they would begin the process of analyzing their find and determining its value. They had barely finished securing their cargo when the attack began. The first sign of trouble was the sudden failure of the station's main lights. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in a red glow that made the docking bay look like a scene from a nightmare. Then came the sound of weapons fire echoing through the station's corridors. "What the hell is happening?" Elena asked, grabbing a plasma rifle from the ship's weapons locker. Before Marcus could answer, the docking bay's main entrance exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris came a squad of Vorthan warriors, their reptilian forms moving with deadly precision. The Vorthans were one of the most feared species in this part of the galaxy, known for their brutal raids and their practice of taking slaves from conquered worlds. The lead Vorthan was massive, even by the standards of his species. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with scales that gleamed like black metal and eyes that burned with predatory intelligence. His armor was decorated with trophies from previous battles, and the weapon in his clawed hands hummed with lethal energy. "Humans," the Vorthen commander hissed, his voice carrying the sibilant accent of his species. "You will come with us. Your kind brings high prices in the slave markets of the Outer Rim." Marcus felt his heart racing as he realized the situation. Vorthen slave raids were legendary in their brutality. Those who were captured were never seen again, disappearing into the lawless territories beyond the reach of galactic law. He had heard stories of entire colonies being stripped of their populations, the survivors forced to work in mines or fight in gladiatorial games for the entertainment of their captors. "We're not going anywhere," Marcus said, trying to keep his voice steady. Elena and David moved to flank him, their weapons ready. The Vorthen commander laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "You have no choice, human. This station is now under Vorthen control. Surrender, and your death will be quick." That was when something impossible happened. David's emergency beacon, which he always carried on his belt, activated by itself. The device began emitting a rapid series of beeps and flashes, and suddenly every communication device in the docking bay came alive with urgent messages in dozens of different languages. "What is that?" the Vorthen commander demanded, his confident expression beginning to change. Before anyone could answer, the station speakers crackled to life. "Emergency alert," came the voice of Crix, the station's Vexery administrator. "All vessels respond immediately. Terran Protection Protocol is now in effect. All vessels respond immediately." Marcus had never heard of the Terran Protection Protocol, but apparently every other species in the galaxy had. Through the docking bay's windows, he could see ships of every design and origin changing course toward the station. Aldari pleasure craft, Gorvani cargo vessels, even the sleek warships of the normally neutral Zephyrini, all converging on their location with desperate urgency. The Vorthen commander's communicator buzzed with incoming messages. As he listened, his expression changed from confusion to something that looked almost like fear. He barked orders in his own language, and his warriors began to look around nervously. "Sir," one of the Vorthen soldiers said, "we're detecting multiple ship signatures. Approaching, hundreds of them." "Impossible," the commander replied, but his voice had lost its earlier confidence. "This is just a minor trading station. Why would anyone care about 3 human salvagers?" The answer came in the form of a massive Aldari cruiser that appeared outside the station's main viewport. The ship was beautiful in the way that all Aldari. Technology was beautiful, with flowing lines and surfaces that seemed to shift color in the light. But it was also heavily armed, and its weapons were clearly targeting the Vorthen raiding ships. "Vorthen Commander," came a voice over the station's communication system, speaking in accented but clear standard. "This is Captain Veltar of the Aldari vessel Starweaver. You will release the humans immediately and withdraw from this system, or we will open fire." "This is none of your concern, Aldari," the Vorthen commander replied, but Marcus could hear the uncertainty in his voice. "The protection of humans is the concern of all civilized species," Veltar replied. "You have 60 seconds to comply." More ships were arriving by the minute. Marcus watched in amazement as vessels from species that were normally enemies flew, in formation to protect 3 humans they had never met. There were Gorvani cruisers, Vexery destroyers, even the mysterious ships of the Eternal Collective, a species so advanced that they rarely involved themselves in galactic affairs. Vorthen commander's communicator buzzed again, and this time the voice on the other end was shouting. Marcus couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Someone very important was very angry. "We withdraw," the Vorthen commander said finally, his voice filled with frustration and confusion. "But this is not over, humans. Someday, the protection will fail, and when it does, we will remember this day." As quickly as they had arrived, the Vorthan raiders retreated to their ships. Within minutes, they were gone, leaving behind only the memory of their brief but terrifying presence. The alien ships that had come to rescue them remained for several hours, as if making sure the threat was truly gone. Then, one by one, they departed, returning to whatever business had brought them to this part of the galaxy. Asterisk. Marcus, Elena, and David stood in the docking bay, trying to process what had just happened. They had been saved, but they had no idea why or how. "Captain Chun," came a voice from behind them. They turned to see Crix approaching. The Vexery Administrator was an insectoid being with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the light in strange patterns. Normally, Crix treated humans with the polite indifference that most aliens showed their species. But now there was something different in his manner, something that might have been respect or even reverence. "Are you injured?" Crix asked, his voice carrying a concern that Marcus had never heard before. "We're fine," Marcus replied. "But I need to know what just happened. What is the Terran Protection Protocol?" Crix was quiet for a long moment, his compound eyes studying the 3 humans. "It is an old law," he said finally. "Older than you might imagine. It exists to protect you and to protect us all. Protect us from what?" Elena asked. "From the consequences of your nature," Crix replied, cryptically. "Your species is unique in the galaxy, Captain Chun. The protocol exists because of what you are capable of when you have no other choice." Before Marcus could ask what he meant, Crix turned and walked away, leaving them with more questions than answers. The 3 humans stood in the docking bay, surrounded by the wreckage of their ordinary lives, and the beginning of a mystery that would change everything they thought they knew about humanity's place in the galaxy. That night, as Marcus lay in his quarters trying to process the day's events, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled onto something much bigger than a simple salvage operation. The way every alien species had responded to their distress, the reverence in Crix's voice, the fear in the Vorthan commander's eyes, it all pointed to a truth about humanity that had been hidden from them. Tomorrow, he decided they would begin looking for answers. And somehow, he knew that what they found would change not just their understanding of their own species, but their understanding of their place in the universe itself. Asterisk, the truth revealed. 3 days after the incident at Zephyr Station, Marcus Chun sat in the pilot's chair of the Meridian, staring at the coordinates he had entered into the navigation system. New Terra Diplomatic Station orbited a gas giant in the Kepler system, serving as humanity's primary center for interstellar relations. If anyone could explain what had happened to them, it would be the diplomats and researchers stationed there. "I still can't believe no one will talk about it," Elena said from her position at the engineering console. She had spent the last 3 days trying to find information about the Terran Protection Protocol, but every search had turned up empty results or classified files. "It's like the whole galaxy has agreed to keep it secret," David added, looking up from his communication array. "I've contacted friends at other stations, and they all give me the same response. They know about it, but they won't discuss it." Marcus nodded grimly. The silence surrounding the incident had been almost as disturbing as the incident itself. Every alien they had spoken to clearly knew about the protocol, but none would explain what it meant or why it existed. New Terra Station was impressive, even by the standards of human engineering. The facility was built around a massive rotating ring that generated artificial gravity, with dozens of smaller modules extending outward like the spokes of a wheel. Ships from across human space docked at the station regularly, bringing diplomats, scientists, and traders from the core worlds. New Terra Control. This is salvage vessel Meridian requesting permission to dock, Marcus transmitted as they approached the station. "Meridian, this is New Terra Control," came the reply. "You're cleared for docking Bay 12. Welcome to New Terra Station. The docking procedure was smooth and efficient, and within an hour they were walking through the station's corridors. Marcus was struck by how different the atmosphere was here compared to Zephyr Station. Here, humans were clearly in charge, and the alien visitors seemed to be the ones who were cautious and respectful. They had arranged to meet with Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a xenobiologist who had been studying human-alien relations for over a decade. Her office was located in the station's research section, surrounded by laboratories where scientists from across human space worked on projects related to interstellar diplomacy and alien psychology. Dr. Mitchell was a woman in her 40s with graying hair and intelligent eyes that seemed to see more than they revealed. Her office was filled with books, research papers, and strange artifacts from across the galaxy. She greeted them with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "Captain Chun," she said, gesturing for them to sit down. "I heard about what happened at Zephyr Station. I'm glad you're safe. That's what we want to talk about," Marcus replied. "We need to understand what happened. Why did every alien species in the sector rush to protect us?" Dr. Mitchell was quiet for a long moment, studying their faces. "What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest levels," she said finally. "Officially, this conversation never happened. But after what you've experienced, I think you have a right to know the truth." She activated a holographic display that showed a timeline stretching back 60 years. The official story of first contact is that humanity was welcomed into the Galactic community as a new member species. We were given territory, trade rights, and protection under galactic law. What the history books don't tell you is why we received such generous treatment. The display changed to show a map of the galaxy as it had existed 60 years ago. Large portions were colored in red, indicating the territory of something called the hegemony. 60 years ago, the galaxy was dominated by an alliance of the most powerful alien species, Dr. Mitchell explained. They called themselves the hegemony, and their policy toward new species was simple: conquer, enslave, or eliminate. They had successfully subjugated over 200 worlds, and they saw no reason why Earth should be any different. Elena leaned forward. "But that's not what happened to us." "No," Dr. Mitchell replied grimly. "And that's because of what became known as the Omega Incident." She pulled up another file, this one showing Earth as it had appeared 60 years ago. The hegemony assigned the conquest of Earth to their most successful military force, the Kethmori. Empire. The Kethmori were reptilian beings, not unlike the Vorthans you encountered, but far more advanced and organized. They had conquered 47 worlds without ever losing a single campaign. The holographic display showed images of the invasion. Marcus watched as massive alien warships descended on Earth's major cities. The ships were elegant and deadly, their weapons reducing human defenses to rubble within hours. The initial invasion proceeded exactly as the Kethmori had planned, Dr. Mitchell continued. Human military forces were overwhelmed. Our technology was primitive compared to theirs, and our armies were scattered and disorganized. Within a week, they had captured every major population center on Earth. David shook his head. "Then how did we win?" "We didn't win," Dr. Mitchell said quietly. "At least, not in any conventional sense. What happened next was something that the Kethmori, and indeed the entire galaxy, had never seen before." She activated another display, this one showing underground facilities and research laboratories. Human leadership had retreated to secure bunkers around the world. Scientists, military officers, and government officials were all working on the same project, something called the Omega Protocol. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. What was the Omega Protocol? Dr. Mitchell pulled up technical diagrams that showed humanity's sun surrounded by a network of devices. Dr. Elena Vasquez, a physicist working with the Resistance, had developed a way to destabilize solar fusion reactions. The plan was to turn our sun into a weapon that would destroy not just Earth, but create a chain reaction that would make the entire solar system uninhabitable for thousands of years. They were going to destroy the sun? Elena asked in horror. Not just destroy it, Dr. Mitchell corrected. They were going to turn it into a weapon that would create an expanding wave of radiation and debris that would destroy any ship trying to leave the system. The Kethmori fleet would be trapped and annihilated along with everything else. The implications of what she was saying began to sink in. They were going to commit suicide, Marcus said slowly, and take their enemies with them. Exactly. And that's when the Kethmori realized they weren't fighting a normal species. Most galactic species evolved as herd animals. Their survival instincts are based on preserving life and protecting the group. The concept of mutually assured destruction was completely alien to them. Dr. Mitchell showed them recordings of the actual negotiations. Marcus watched as grim-faced human leaders delivered their ultimatum to increasingly panicked alien commanders. President Maria Santos and General Robert Hayes delivered the message. To Kethmori High Command, Dr. Mitchell explained. They had 72 hours to withdraw completely from human space, or the Omega Protocol would be activated. Every ship, every soldier, everyone in the solar system would die together. What was the alien response? David asked. Panic. Complete and total panic. The Kethmori had never encountered a species that would choose death over slavery. They called emergency sessions of their leadership, brought in psychologists and xenobiologists from across the galaxy to study human psychological profiles. She pulled up translated documents from the alien archives. Marcus read phrases like unprecedented existential defiance, species-wide willingness to commit universal suicide, and complete absence of survival-based reasoning. The Kethmori withdrew from Earth after 68 hours, Dr. Mitchell continued. But the damage was done. Word of the Omega Protocol spread throughout the galaxy. Every major species began to reassess their understanding of human psychology. Elena was staring at the display in shock. So they created the protection laws because they were afraid of us. The Galactic Preservation Treaty was signed by every major species within a year, Dr. Mitchell confirmed. On the surface, it appears to be a set of laws designed to protect humanity and ensure our prosperity. But the real purpose was to ensure that humans never again felt threatened enough to resort to universal suicide tactics. Marcus understood now why the alien ships had rushed to protect them. They're not protecting us because they like us. They're protecting us because they're terrified of what we might do if we feel cornered. Exactly. The treaty requires all signatories to treat humans with respect and to come to their aid if they are threatened. But it also includes provisions for monitoring human technology and ensuring that we never again develop weapons capable of system-wide destruction. Dr. Mitchell pulled up a final document, this one showing the current state of human space. For 60 years, the treaty has worked. Humanity has prospered under galactic protection. We've established colonies throughout the galaxy, developed new technologies, and become a respected member of the galactic community. But we've done so under the watchful eye of species that are fundamentally afraid of what we represent. What do you mean? Marcus asked. The psychological traits that made the Omega Protocol possible haven't disappeared, Dr. Mitchell explained. Humans are still the only species in the galaxy that will choose death over defeat. We're still capable of the kind of existential defiance that terrifies every other form of life in the universe. She looked at each of them seriously. What happened to you at Zephyr Station? Was the system working as designed? The moment you were threatened, automatic protocols activated that summoned help from across the galaxy. But that help came not out of friendship or alliance, but out of fear of what humans might do if they felt they had no other choice. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. Marcus thought about all the interactions he had had with alien species over the years. The careful politeness, the generous trade agreements, the way aliens always seemed to give humans the benefit of the doubt in disputes. It hadn't been respect or friendship. It had been fear. "There's one more thing you should know," Dr. Mitchell said quietly. "The treaty is starting to break down. Human colonies are spreading beyond the original boundaries, and some of the younger alien species don't remember the Omega incident. There are factions within the galactic community that believe the time has come to test whether humans are still capable of the kind of existential defiance that made the treaty necessary in the first place." "What does that mean for us?" Alana asked. "It means that the protection you've taken for granted your entire lives might not last forever," Dr. Mitchell replied. "And when it fails, the galaxy will discover whether humanity has lost its willingness to choose death over defeat, or whether we're still the species that once threatened to destroy a star rather than live as slaves." As they left Dr. Mitchell's office, Marcus couldn't help but notice the way the alien visitors to the station looked at them. There was respect there, but underneath it was something else. Fear. The fear of a galaxy that had learned the hard way that humanity was not like other species, that humans were capable of making choices that no other form of life could understand or predict. The truth about the Terran Protection Protocol was more complex and disturbing than any of them had imagined. They were not protected because they were valued, but because they were feared. And that fear, Marcus realized, was both their greatest protection and their greatest burden. As the Meridian left New Terra Station, Marcus looked out at the stars and wondered what the future held for a species that had earned its place in the galaxy, not through strength or wisdom, but through its willingness to destroy everything rather than accept defeat. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, and that fear had kept them safe for 60 years. But fear, Marcus knew, was not the same as respect, and it was certainly not the same as friendship. The question now was whether humanity could find a way to earn the galaxy's trust before the galaxy decided that the risk of human unpredictability was too great to tolerate. Asterisk.